Hello everyone. In this case study we're going to be looking at migration from Mexico to the United States of America. We're going to be looking at 4 factors. We're going to be looking at why are Mexicans leaving their country, the push factors. Secondly, we're going to be looking at why are they attracted to the United States of America, the pull factors. Thirdly, what effects does this migration have on the United States of America? And finally, what effects does the migration have on Mexico itself? Before we get started, let's have a look at some interesting Mexico to US migration facts. Mexicans, firstly, make up 29.5% of all foreigners in the United States of America. They account for about 20% of the legal immigrants living in the US, and it is estimated that 14,000 out of 19,000 Mexicans who hold doctorates live in the United States of America. There are approximately 11.7 million Mexican immigrants residing in the US, and finally 6.2 million, or 56% of all unauthorized migrants, are from Mexico. In this slide we can see the Mexican immigrant population and its growth from 1980 to 2014. We can see in 1980 there are approximately 2,199,000 Mexicans. This steadily rose up until about 2000 and 2006, where it hit about 11 million. Then from 2006 to 2014, the Mexican immigrants remained relatively stable, just under 12 million. The distribution of Mexican immigrants in the US is not uniform. From this slide you can see that most of them live in the state of California, in cities like Los Angeles and San Diego, and the second largest state is that of Texas. There are a few other hotspots found around about the Chicago area and also in the Northeast. The American Border Patrol have got a monumental task. They police a huge border, 3,100 kilometers in length, running straight away across the southern part of the country. Most Mexican immigrants entering the United States of America are economic migrants. They're leaving from rural areas in Mexico, and as you can see from the following pictures, they live a life of hardship. If we examine the reasons why Mexicans want to emigrate, we can divide these up into 2 different aspects. Firstly, the push factors. These are the negative aspects of life in Mexico and the reasons why they want to leave. And the pull factors, these are the positive aspects of life in the United States of America and why they would like to move there. Firstly, let's examine the push factors. These can include poor medical facilities of about 1,800 patients per doctor, low-paid jobs with a GDP per capita of $14,000, poor educational prospects with only 72% of school leavers going to secondary school, a life expectancy of 72 years, 40% unemployment, an unhappy life with poor living standards, food shortages, poor farming conditions, and a national average poverty level of 37%. On the other hand, the factors attracting the Mexicans to emigrate are the pull factors. These are the opposite: excellent medical facilities with 400 patients per doctor, well-paid jobs with a GDP per capita of $46,000, a high adult literacy rate of 99%, which means a good prospect of a college education, higher life expectancy of 76 years. There are also many jobs available for low-paid workers, such as Mexicans. Better housing. There are family links of those who are already in the United States of America. And there's also something that we call the bright light syndrome. So what is a bright light syndrome? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. Mexicans can see the glamour and the glitz that is portrayed in the movies and across the border. These images are, for example, of Las Vegas, and they get attracted like a moth to the flame. They are attracted by the bright lights. They want to move there because it heralds better opportunities and better prospects for a future. So, what effects does this migration have on the United States of America itself? In the following pictures you'll be able to see border photos and other photos indicating some of these impacts. Now, not all of these impacts are negative. We can see that they're divided into two different categories. There are undoubtedly negatives, but there are also some positives as well. Let us start with the negatives. The impact that they can have on the United States of America is the fact that they cost millions of dollars for border patrols and prisons. Mexicans are also seen as a drain on the US economy. Migrant workers keep wages low, which affects many Americans, and many claim that they cannot find jobs because of the competition. It can cause problems in cities due to cultural and racial difficulties. In fact, 68% of the 55,000 foreigners in US prisons are of Mexican nationality. Finally, much money that's being sent back to Mexico in the forms of remittances comes from the American economy. It is estimated that in 2014, $25 billion was sent back to Mexico and left the US economy. It is not all bad though. There are many positives as well. Mexican migrants benefit the US economy by working for low wages. They encourage a lot of economic growth. There is also the aspect of Mexican culture, which has enriched that of the US. It has brought food, language, and even music. Many educated and professional Mexicans also migrate to the United States of America, and they bring with them skills and expertise in many different fields. Finally, it has been great for the US housing industry and has ultimately meant that Americans can get cheaper homes. The issue of migration has been a very topical issue of late, and it is clear from the previous slide that there are some disadvantages. But let us not forget the advantages, and certain recent political trends are possibly not advantageous to the US economy, especially when they're going to cost somewhere in the region of about $15 billion to build. And, let's face it, they do not guarantee that they're going to make things better. What about the impacts that this migration has on Mexico itself? Again, these can be divided into negative and also positive. The negative impacts can include the fact that the Mexican countryside has a shortage of economically active people. There's a brain drain. Many men emigrate, leaving the majority of women behind in the country. And it has been estimated that some women have trouble finding marriage partners or suitable marriage partners because of this movement to the US. Most people who move are also young, and this has left certain villages with about 2/3 of the original population. Critics argue that it's created a dependency culture as well, where people are dependent on the remittances that are sent back, and this has impaired local initiatives and created no incentive for people to move forward. In addition to this, hundreds of illegal migrants who cross into the US from Mexico have died in the scorching heat in the Arizona deserts, and they've also been arrested and put into prison. The demand to enter the US has encouraged also criminal organizations to profit from this. These people are sometimes called coyotes. Looking at the positives, it's undeniable that the largest positive impact on Mexico is that of money. Legal and illegal migrants together send something in the region of $6 billion back every year to Mexico. And this is especially important for families where the average wage in parts of Mexico is about 600 pesos per week, or $60. That's about 1/6 of what most immigrants can make in the United States of America. Here are some of my concluding thoughts on migration. Number 1. It is impossible to say if migration, even illegal migration, is positive or negative. There is undoubtedly a mixture of both factors. Number 2. The main reason why anybody migrates has very little to do with rational or measurable push and pull factors. Most people migrate because of perceived improvements in their situation. In reality, the life that they will live in their country of destination is not always what they had hoped for, and in fact, many people migrate back to their own countries in the end. I would like to read you the following statement, which is from the New York Times, which illustrates the previous point. Using census data from the United States of America and Mexico, the Pew Report found that from 2009 to 2014, slightly more than 1 million Mexicans and their families, including about 100,000 children younger than 5 who were American citizens born in the United States, returned to live in Mexico. In the same period, an estimated 870,000 Mexicans came here, resulting in an outflow of about 140,000 people. This is very interesting food for thought, considering all of the hype that has been in the media lately about the influx of migrants into all countries around the world, not only the United States of America. And it points out that when it comes to such emotive questions, people need to really look at their facts and know that everything that appears in the media is not always the way that it is. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've liked it, please do subscribe and like for further videos. Have a very nice day.